Today I want to talk to you about moving to Portugal with the D7 visa, and I thought what better way to show you than to go through my exact application when I applied. I know there have been some changes, and I'll note the ones that I know about as we go through. Stick around until the end and I'll go through how long it took to get my visa approved. Julia. I'm an American and I've been living in Portugal since 2019. I did this process entirely without professional help, so I know that it's possible and I want to help you be able to do the same. So the first thing I want to say is that this process can change even as you're applying, and there can be some inconsistencies. Don't worry, you can still do this, and you can do this without hiring help. The main thing is to try to be as patient as possible and confident that you can do this. I applied from Texas, which meant that I had to apply to the DC consulate. I had to mail in my application. I have a list of all the consulates for US states and territories in the description below, but I can't take credit for this list. I got it from an amazing Facebook group called Americans and Friends PT, and I will have the link for that group in the description below. It's an awesome resource if you're planning on moving to Portugal, especially if you're planning on moving to Portugal from the United States. Now, without further ado, let's go through my application. I'll be going through the documents in the order that I would recommend getting them done. So I'll discuss on each of them how long it takes so that you can figure out for yourself if you need to move anything around. I sent 4 items to prove my financial means, and I definitely think that I sent more than what was necessary. I'll encourage you to keep your application simple, but I'll just tell you what I used to be fair because we're going through my exact application. So I sent bank statements from my regular bank account. I sent a statement from my investment account. I sent a letter from a company that I was contracting with as a freelancer stating that I was working with them, and I sent my last invoices as a freelancer. You only need to prove about 8,000 euros. A new requirement is that you must have a bank account in Portugal with the funds in it. So to open a bank account and get a NIF and to transfer your money, you're probably going to need a couple of weeks just to make sure that everything sorts out. This is an important part of your application and it doesn't expire. So it's something easy to get out of the way first. Once you open your Portuguese bank account, you can just download a statement and print that out, and that'll be your proof of financial means. The basic requirement is that it must cover a maximum of 30,000 euros of coverage. I was able to get healthcare insurance through my bank. The healthcare insurance I got was through Fidelidad, and the plan I got was Multicare 2. So it can take a couple of months until you have full coverage, and the day I had full healthcare coverage with my plan was after the day that I was intending to arrive. So I bought travel insurance with healthcare coverage to cover the days I didn't have full insurance coverage with Multicare, if that makes sense. And with these insurance plans that I had, the document that I submitted was the explanation of benefits letter. It can be a little bit difficult to find housing in Portugal, especially if you want to move to Lisbon. In my application, I used something called a term of responsibility, which meant that I was moving in with somebody who already had a place, so I didn't need a lease, so I filled out a form stating that. Unfortunately, this doesn't seem to be accepted anymore, so you're probably going to have to get a rental agreement or purchase a property. I do know that some people have been successful in using an Airbnb reservation or something like that, because you only need to prove about 3 to 6 months of accommodation depending on the consulate. So you could use Airbnb and then arrive there and stay there while you're looking for another place in person. Not all consulates allow this, so make sure that you ask the consulate what they're expecting for different requirements, and make sure to ask them as soon as possible because the consulate may not get back to you within a week or so. Another thing is that a lease may not be able to start a few months out from when you're looking, so you may want to postpone this step, but I definitely would encourage you to start looking very early on. That way you'll be good to go. This has 3 separate steps. First, you're going to need to get fingerprinted. Then you're going to have to send that to the FBI so they can run your criminal background check. And then you're going to have to send that to the Secretary of State to be apostilled. So I have links in the description of how to get the FBI background check done, and then a link about getting the document apostilled. And the document that you're going to want to send is the apostilled background check. Some people use a handler to get the background check apostilled because it can be a little complicated. website, but I also did this process myself, so I didn't have to pay anyone else to do it, and I was able to do everything within 1 month. So it's definitely possible to do it on your own. If you would like me to make a video on how to do the background check, including the fingerprinting process and how to send it to get apostilled, please let me know in the comments below. If you're finding this information helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon for notifications when new videos are available. You're gonna need some form of identification from your legal place of residency, so usually this is a passport. You're going to make a copy of the photo page, which in an American passport is the second page that has your photo and signature on it, and you're gonna wanna make a copy of that, and then you're gonna have to get that notarized, so you just bring that copy to a notary. I use the UPS store to have it notarized. And I have a link below for the UPS store notary, so you can find a store near you if you wanna go with that option. If you do not have a passport, then you need to do this first, because it can take a couple months to get a passport. If you have a passport, it needs to be valid for a certain length of time for it to be valid for the consulate to stamp a visa in it. And so that is 30 days after your visa would expire. So for example, if you applied for a visa that would begin in January, your passport cannot expire before August of that year. The next thing is 2 passport-sized photos. They'll look something like this. These I got done at Walgreens. They have a passport photo service, and I have the link for that in the description below. This is quite obvious. You're going to need a completed application. The link for the application is in the description below, and this application needs to be notarized just like the passport photo page. So actually all in one day, I got my passport page notarized, I got my application notarized, and I got my photos done. So really simple. You can do that all in one day. Just keep it simple. What I included in my personal state was my name, my profession, and why I wanted to move to Portugal, and I used a very simple statement. I said, I wish to move to Portugal because I enjoy this country. I stated the exact address where I would live and how I would financially support myself, referencing documents from my application. And then I also mentioned that I opened a Portuguese bank account and that I would transfer money to that bank account once I arrived in Portugal. However, you should state that you've already transferred the money to your bank account and include that bank statement in your application. Okay, so those are the requirements that you'll need for your application unless the consulate says otherwise, and then you might need to include some additional information. I do want to note just a few points. Do not staple or affix anything to another document, so leave everything unattached. If you want to organize it, you can do what I did and include a cover page that walks through all the documents inside. And then I was a little bit worried that my photos would get lost and that the money that I included for the fee would get lost, so I put those in labeled envelopes to make sure that they didn't get lost. So one of the hardest things about this application is the timing. What I would recommend doing is applying within 3 months of when you expect to arrive in Portugal. To give you an even better idea of the timeline, I will go through the exact dates of everything that happened for me. I decided to move to Portugal in December of 2018, and then I started doing research then and throughout January 2019, which is when I began collecting documents. I got all of my paperwork together and submitted the application in the mail on March 15th of 2019. So it took me about 2 to 3 months to do the research and collect the paperwork. You definitely want to spend enough time researching so that you know what you're getting into and that you can anticipate any hurdles that you might come across. I submitted my application on March 15th. I sent it by overnight mail, and I received my acceptance on April 23rd, 2019. So it only took 5 weeks for the DC consulate to process my application. As soon as I received that approval email, I sent my passport and return envelope on the same day. I sent that by overnight mail, and I received my passport back on May 6th. So it took about 2 weeks to get my passport stamped and returned to me. And the passport was stamped for May 9th to September 5th, which were the exact dates that I put for my intended date of arrival and departure from Portugal. And I arrived in Portugal on May 19th, 2019. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks and ciao!